Modern life consumes you in silence. You wake up tired, go to bed frustrated, and within this seemingly endless cycle exists a feeling you know all too well, that you're living far below what you could be. It's as if something inside you were suffocating, as if your real strength were locked behind a door you never managed to open. You think you're not strong enough, but the brutal truth is that you're only using 10% of your mind, and this invisible limitation is shaping every decision, every habit, every silent defeat in your day. Have you been through this? That feeling of being stuck, tired, lost, as if life were dragging you along, while a part of you screams for change. Deep down, you know you could be much more than this. And this is exactly where Japanese philosophy comes in. A path that for centuries has awakened a mental strength that modern man forgot he possesses. What you're about to discover might surprise you, because there exists a secret used by Japanese warriors, monks, and strategists that activate such a profound mental force that Musashi said that when awakened, the external world ceases to be a threat. This isn't a motivational trick. It's not pretty talk. It's a mental state that transformed ordinary men into legends. And the promise is simple. When you understand this principle, your anxiety diminishes, your indecision loses power, your discipline grows, and what seemed impossible begins to become inevitable. Stay with me until the Ichu ends, because you're going to learn how to awaken an inner strength that has always been there, dormant, waiting only for the right moment to emerge. The truth is that the modern mind learned to be weak, surrounded by distractions, shortcuts, comforts, and instant rewards. It became incapable of sustaining the deep focus, unshakable discipline, and absolute presence that were natural to the warriors of the past. Samurai philosophy called this the slumber of the spirit. Musashi warned that man's greatest enemy wasn't the sword nor the world nor fate. It was his own undisciplined mind. And if this makes you think about your own routine, it's no coincidence. How many times have you known exactly what you needed to do, but still didn't do it? How many times have you lost to procrastination, to fear, to doubt? How many times have you looked in the mirror and felt you could be stronger, more focused, more determined? This inner conflict isn't weakness. It's lack of access to a mental strength you never used. A silent power that exists within you, but was buried by years of weak habits, easy choices, and a life that demands results, but teaches paths too short to sustain them. The Western mind wants everything fast. The samurai mind wants everything deep. And it's in this depth that the Japanese secret reveals its value. It's not about physical strength. It's not about motivation. It's about building a spirit so stable that nothing, absolutely nothing, can knock you off the path you chose to follow. And as you listen to this, perhaps you notice something moving internally, a small flame rekindling, a healthy discomfort, a feeling that something greater is waiting for you. And there is. The question is, are you willing to discover it? Because what comes next is the bridge between the man you are today and the man you know you could be. And the transition begins when you understand this Japanese secret that Musashi carried his entire life as his most powerful weapon. Now, let's go deeper into this path. The awakening begins here. And as this internal flame begins to ignite, there's something I need to ask you, not as a YouTuber, not as a narrator, but as someone who believes deeply in the power of this transformation you're seeking. Because this path isn't meant to be walked alone. The mental strength we're awakening here becomes even more powerful when there's brotherhood, when there's exchange, when there's a space where men who want to evolve walk together. So answer me something, and answer with sincerity, because this comment could be the first act of breaking free from your weak mind. Which part of your life do you feel is calling for mental strength right now? Write that in the comments. It doesn't need to be beautiful, it doesn't need to be perfect, it needs to be true. When you write, you commit. And when you commit publicly, your mind understands that there's no more room to escape. This is how a modern warrior begins to shape himself. And since we're building this path together, if you got this far and still haven't liked this video, do it now. It's free, it takes less than a second, and it makes an enormous difference. YouTube understands that this content changed something in you, and then it takes this message to more people who, like you, are fighting silent battles every day. Your like isn't just a clicked button. It's a way to spread this philosophy, this discipline, this mental strength. That Musashi dedicated his entire life to teaching. And of course, if you want to keep evolving your mind with content like this, if you want to dive even deeper into Japanese philosophy, into samurai discipline, into unshakable mental strength, subscribe to the channel now. When you do this, you're not just following a channel. You're joining a community of men who decided to awaken. Your participation here is what makes this channel grow and reach more people with this type of content. It's what keeps this flame alive, what gives meaning to every word built, to every teaching transmitted. And as you comment, like, and subscribe, something profound begins to move inside you, because each of these actions is, in fact, a symbolic gesture, a decision not to return to the inertia of before. Now take a deep breath, because the next step will take you even deeper into this Japanese secret that awakens the mental strength you never used. What comes next isn't theory, it's transformation. Let's continue. True awakening. Your mental strength is dormant. The truth is that, behind everything you feel, tiredness, frustration, indecision, there exists a silent strength you never fully accessed. Not because you lack courage, but because no one taught you the right method. Japanese philosophy always made this clear. The most difficult enemy isn't the world, it's the sleeping mind. Musashi repeated that the warrior isn't born strong, he awakens. And this awakening doesn't happen in a glorious moment, but behind the scenes of life, when you finally face the uncomfortable revelation that your mentality has become comfortable. The hidden truth is that you're not weak. You just operate in a reduced mode, as if your decisions were filtered through an internal haze that limits your impact on the world. When you understand this, something changes. It's a gentle but profound shock, as if someone pulled an invisible rug from under your feet and revealed the true floor beneath. It's not lack of potential, it's lack of direction. It's not absence of discipline, it's absence of clarity. And perhaps you've already felt this contrast for a few seconds. That moment when your mind seems sharper, more firm, as if a stronger version of you were trying to emerge. That feeling isn't an illusion. It's the sign that there's an inner reservoir waiting to be used. Now I want to go even deeper into this, because understanding this truth is the first step to starting a real transformation journey where your strength stops being a myth and becomes a concrete tool. Japanese philosophy always treated this awakening as a turning point in a warrior's life. It's not something mystical. It's the perception that you've been living below yourself for far too long. Unveiling the root. Your mind learned to be weak. There comes a point in the journey when facing the truth stops being optional, and the hidden truth, the one almost no one has the courage to admit, is simple and uncomfortable. Your mind learned to be weak, not because you were born that way, but because over the years you were conditioned to flee, to hesitate, to negotiate with yourself. Small daily decisions, seemingly without impact, added up over time, shaped a mentality that avoids discomfort and seeks shortcuts. It's as if you trained your own brain to believe that any effort is a threat, when in reality, it's effort itself that unlocks your transformation. Japanese philosophy always treated this process as a deviation from the true path. Awakening doesn't happen while you keep nurturing the same patterns that kill your discipline and feed your anxiety. Musashi spoke about this almost brutally. He said that man defeats himself long before entering battle, and this defeat begins behind the scenes, in those small daily concessions you make to laziness, to fear, to doubt, patterns you repeat without realizing it, and that little by little bury your real strength under layers of weak habits. When you observe this with sincerity, something changes inside. It's as if a light turned on in a dark room, revealing details that were always there, but that you preferred to ignore. Hesitation is learned. Self-sabotage is learned. Escape is learned. None of this is part of your essence. These are behaviors created by repetition, and everything that is repeated becomes automatic. This revelation has a profound impact because it shows that if weakness was built, strength can also be rebuilt. You're not trapped by your past mind. You just need to realize that the root isn't in lack of ability, but in the internal programming you've kept active for too long. Now I want to go even deeper into this, because understanding this root isn't meant to blame you, but to liberate you. Strength exists within you, it always has. It was just buried by layers of easy decisions, constant distractions, and a lifestyle that pushes your mind into automatic mode. And when the mind enters this mode, it stops questioning, stops choosing, and only reacts. This is how you lose presence, focus, discipline, and you don't even realize you're losing them. But the simple fact that you're here, listening to this, already indicates something powerful. There's a part of you awakening, looking inward with honesty, and seeking to regain control of your own journey. And it's precisely this internal movement that opens the way for the next step, the breaking point. If you continue like this, your life won't change. There comes a moment in the journey when truth stops being merely uncomfortable and becomes inevitable. And perhaps this moment is happening now, as you realize that your hesitation has already stolen years from your life. Not in dramatic explosions, but in small delays, subtle excuses, postponed decisions. You always knew what you needed to do, but the instant action required strength. You chose the easy path. And this silent repetition creates a profound, almost invisible impact that corrodes your confidence and shapes your mentality downward. Japanese philosophy describes this as a deviation from the warrior's path, a gradual distancing from your own potential. Musashi said that man's greatest mistake is not realizing he's moving away from himself. When you observe your routine with honesty, you realize that the weak mind is winning, and you feel this every day. It's that feeling of always being one step behind, of being unable to break. Patterns of realizing that life is moving forward while you remain still. There's a specific pain in this recognition, a mixture of frustration with a certain kind of grief for everything you could have been by now. And it's precisely at this breaking point that many give up, not because they lack strength, but because they've lost the ability to see who they could become. But recognizing this emotional bottom isn't a failure, it's a portal. This is where great transformations begin, those that change the entire course of a journey. Now I want to go even deeper into this, because understanding this breaking point is crucial to breaking the cycle. When you face head-on the impact of your easy choices, you finally understand why your life seems not to move. The hidden truth isn't that you lack opportunity or luck. You lack internal rupture. You lack the gesture of accepting that continuing like this simply is no longer an option. And when this awareness arrives, even though it brings pain, it carries with it a rare kind of clarity, a revelation that changes how you see yourself. You're not trapped, you're in transition. And every transition demands a direct confrontation with your own history, with your own failures, with the behind the scenes of everything you avoided facing for so long. The mind wants to flee, but the spirit, when touched, wants to awaken. Ascension. There's a Japanese secret to awakening your strength. And it's precisely when you recognize this breaking point, when you realize that life won't change while you keep repeating the same decisions, that something inside you finally begins to move. It's as if the mind, tired of hesitating, makes space for a new kind of energy, a spark of transformation you perhaps haven't felt in a long time. And here enters a revelation that Japanese philosophy always treated with absolute respect. There exists an ancient method used by warriors to awaken a strength that ordinary man never accesses. It's not a complex technique, nor a secret ritual guarded in isolated temples. It's a simple, direct principle, almost invisible, which is precisely why it's so powerful. The samurai called this process inner awakening, a dive into your own mentality that allowed the warrior to traverse fear, chaos, and doubts without getting lost. For them, strength wasn't a shout or aggression, it was clarity, an internal state where every action had purpose, every choice carried impact, every step in the journey was guided by deep conviction. Musashi said that true power is born when man abandons the need to seek strength outside and begins to build it within. And when you understand this, you realize you're not searching for something you don't have. You're learning to access something that's always been there, hidden under layers of distraction and self-deception. Now I want to go even deeper into this, because understanding this ascension isn't about believing in a beautiful philosophy, but about seeing that there's a real path to break the cycle you've been trapped in. The hidden truth is that most people spend their lives reacting to the world, while few learn to act from a solid internal center. When you activate this samurai principle, this silent strength that seemed distant begins to manifest behind the scenes of your mind. in the way you think, decide, observe, and position yourself in relation to your own history. And little by little, you realize that that feeling of weakness wasn't a destiny, but just the result of a way of living that didn't match who you were born to be. Inner awakening is the beginning of everything that comes after, and it's impossible to cross this door without feeling a profound change in the way you see yourself. The turn, the Japanese secret. When you understand that there's a strength within you waiting to be awakened, the inevitable question arises: how do you access this power? This is where Japanese philosophy reveals one of its greatest gems, a principle so simple and at the same time so transformative that it changed the trajectory of warriors, artists, strategists, and ordinary men throughout the centuries. This principle is known as Zanshin, the state of absolute attention. Zanshin is the mind that doesn't deviate, the total presence that doesn't allow fear, doubt, or laziness to take control. It's living every moment as if your life depended on the decision in front of you now. And in a way, it does. Because every great transformation begins the instant you decide not to yield to the automatic impulse, but instead remain conscious. The mentality that Zanshin creates is completely different from the one most people carry. Instead of acting under the weight of anxiety or escape, you begin to act from a firm, almost silent internal center. Musashi described this state as a spirit that observes everything and doesn't let itself be carried away by anything. He won not because he was faster or stronger, but because he accessed a mind that no one else could access, a clarity that made every movement have impact. This is the point where the warrior stops merely reacting to the world and begins to shape his own destiny. Now I want to go even deeper into this, because Zanshin isn't just a beautiful concept. It's a daily practice, a complete reset in the way you see yourself and your decisions. When you enter this state, even small actions gain meaning. The simple act of getting out of bed, of starting a task, of maintaining focus for a few more minutes. All of this becomes a powerful training, capable of rebuilding your mentality from the root. And as this consciousness grows, you realize that strength that seemed distant begins to manifest in real, perceptible, consistent attitudes. Many believe that discipline is brute force, but the samurai knew that discipline is, above all, perception. It's knowing where your mind tries to trick you. It's noticing the instant fear tries to paralyze you. It's seeing the internal negotiation before it happens. Zanshin is the antidote to life lived on autopilot. It's the revelation that you can take control of the invisible behind the scenes of your own story. Awaken your mental strength today. When you understand the power of Zanshin and realize that the mind can be trained not to deviate, an internal responsibility is born that can no longer be ignored. It's as if something inside you finally says, enough. Enough running from yourself, enough negotiating with your own weakness, enough postponing the life you know you could be living. Japanese philosophy always treated this moment as the true beginning of the journey, the instant when the warrior stops seeking justifications and begins seeking direction. Musashi said that the most difficult battle is the one fought against your own patterns, and he was right. Because before overcoming any external challenge, you need to overcome yourself. This call isn't aggressive, it's liberating. It's the recognition that you've spent too much time watching your own story repeat itself, hoping something would change without you changing first. And deep down, you know this waiting has a cost. Every day you hide behind hesitation, a piece of your strength fades. Every decision avoided reinforces the mentality that binds you. It's not about punishment. It never was. It's about realizing there's a life happening outside this cycle, and you only reach it when you assume the posture of someone who finally decides to face their own shadow. Now I want to go even deeper into this, because awakening your mental strength isn't an event, it's a positioning. It's when you tell yourself, I won't be a spectator of my own existence anymore. It's when you understand that going to war against your weak mind isn't violence, it's love. Love for the version you know you can be, love for the journey you want to build, love for the impact you want to leave on the world. This internal confrontation, however subtle it may seem, changes everything. It redefines your mentality, breaks old patterns, and opens space for revelations you couldn't see before. And as you accept this call, the energy begins to shift. Distractions lose power, clarity increases, and the sense of powerlessness gives way to conviction. Not because the world became easier, but because you became more present. The truth is, you don't need to be perfect. You need to be honest with yourself. You need to recognize when you're running and choose in that instant to act differently. This is the root of transformation. This is what builds an unshakable spirit, the kind of strength Musashi cultivated until his last day. And if you got this far, you can feel that something in you really moved during this journey. When content touches the mind and spirit like this, it's not just information, it's transformation beginning to take shape. That's why, if this video helped you in any way, if it made you see your mental strength more clearly, if it awakened something that was dormant, consider subscribing to the channel. Here you'll always find content that strengthens your mentality, deepens your discipline, and guides you along this path inspired by Japanese philosophy and the teachings of Miyamoto Musashi. And since we got here together at the end, leave written in the comments the phrase, "I awakened my hidden strength." This way, I know who really walked to the last second, who is committed to themselves, and who is ready to write a new internal story. If you haven't liked yet, this is a good time, not as an obligation, but as a simple gesture to continue this connection we've created here. Your like helps the video reach other people who also need to hear this message, and that already makes an enormous difference. And if you want to continue this journey with me, there's a video here to the side that goes even deeper into this path of mental transformation. Click and continue with me there. Evolution doesn't stop here.